Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This is your weekend recap from game one of the NBA playoffs. 8 games in the books. We got a lot to talk about. We've got injuries. We've got drama. We've got underdogs. We've got favorites demolishing. The East is boring. The West is wild. We've got a lot to get into on today's show. And to do it and break it all down, we've got analytics capper Albert Wynn. You can follow him on Twitter, Analytics Capper. We've also got Brandon Anderson, NBA Futures Analyst. You can follow him on Twitter and the Action Network app at Wheaton Brando. Fellas, there's a lot to get into about today's show, so I'm going to skip the pleasantries because we got so much we got to dive into. Let's start here. I got a question for you. What was the game one result that shifted your perception or opened the most betting opportunity? So when we look at the whole board, whether it was something where you're like, I got the series wrong, I think that there's value on the other side, or, ooh, this is shaping up in a way that there might be an angle for us to play here. AC, what's the answer to that question for you?
I think there's a lot of possible answers here. I'm interested to see what you guys say, but I think it's going to be the Lakers-Grizzlies series, especially with Ja Morant's injury. I think this is pretty much a done deal if Ja Morant is going to miss a game or two or even the series. So I think there's a good opportunity here if you are on the Lakers, plus money before the series started to even add to your position, whether that's a series spread or just for them to advance. But I think the Lakers going into Memphis to win game one with 4 guys that scored over 20 points, first time since 1988 for that franchise. I think the Lakers are deep and they look focused.
I'll push back a little bit. I think the series goes long. We bet Lakers pre-flop, and I still like that number. Like I think the Lakers are going to win the series. That worked. Like game one was a great result for that. Looking pretty good there. But I do think that if I get an opportunity to bet an over on games played, I'm probably going to be looking at that just because I have a lot of faith in Memphis to win without Ja. Now, winning without Ja and Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, that's going to be tough. But I do think the Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, etc., that was an outlier performance from the Lakers offense. They can do that. It wasn't like an extreme outlier. Like I like Rui Hachimura. I think he can do that. Some version of that. Maybe not Jordan level performance, but like I think Rui Hachimura is good. I love the pickup for them. They have a lot of ways that they can get this win. Anthony Davis is going to dominate this matchup. However, I do think Memphis is probably good enough to make this series go long. Like just in terms of overall team quality, Memphis, even if Ja misses some time, should be able to get in there. Now, we're recording this on Monday morning. If Ja's out for the series, that changes the dynamic. That's going to shift like the Grizzlies' entire morale. So that changes things. Brandon, let's get your thoughts on AC's take on Lakers Grizzlies, and then I'll ask you about your answer to that question.
Yeah, I was hoping we get to the question of, what if Ja was just out? What if we find out, okay, Ja's out 2 weeks or a month or out, indefinitely, quote unquote. How do we bet it? I have to say, I looked at the price for Lakers sweep plus 450. If Ja is out and the Lakers go and win game 2 in Memphis, remember, and then go home for the last 2 games. I mean, like you said, Matt, the morale thing, if you go down 0-2, you lost home court and Ja's done. And don't forget, Brandon Clark is done and Steven Adams is done. Like we're running out of bodies quickly in Memphis. I feel like that is in play. Lakers to win game 2 and the series without it needing to be a sweep is just plus 150. So yeah, I think I was on Lakers coming into the series. I actually thought the Grizzlies would win game 1. So I did this to myself a couple times this weekend. I bet the wrong side, even though I had the right long-term side. I feel better about my Lakers to win the series. I have to say, I feel a little worse about the Lakers overall. After seeing these last couple of games, I am a little less excited about my long-term Lakers futures, even though the path this round gets a little better. Obviously, Hachimura is hitting a lot of shots and Austin Reeves is him apparently in the fourth quarter. I'm a little underwhelmed with what I'm seeing with this team. And I was ready to just tear up the tickets and throw them out because Anthony Davis looked like he did the Anthony Davis thing. And I was like, oh, well, Davis is done. Series over. Lakers swept the end. Like, we're right there. We couldn't even get through one half of Anthony Davis ball. So, yeah, I like the Lakers in the series. but I also was reminded of why to not get too excited about them from an injury standpoint, and just from it is extremely a flawed team. Way too much D'Lo and Hachimura and these other guys. Everyone's getting real excited about, they got all the right pieces now. D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hachimura are not the right pieces for me. So yeah.
I'll say this. One final point: the Lakers or LeBron here. I know it's 2023. He's well past his prime. He's not going to have those 40, 10, and 10 games in the playoffs every year. But he has a history of taking care of business in the first round, whether it's a sweep, whether it's a gentleman's sweep, so he can rest up for future rounds. Again, I'm not saying he's at that level still as a player, but I think he understands the potential here, or the opportunity here to get rest. And plus, LeBron didn't even play well that in game one, right? He had a good defensive game. He had a couple of highlights there. I think he ended up with 3 blocks, but offensively, he was careless with the basketball, and he wasn't really good shooting as well. So I think we're going to see a good LeBron game, whether it's 2 or 3. I still think I agreed with you, Matt. Heading into the series, I thought this was going at least 6 or 7, but I thought that was a kitchen sink game for the Memphis Grizzlies, and they still lost. I think it's going to be a short series.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get an update on John. We'll react to that on the pod as news comes available and on the Action Network app. Brandon, what's the game 1 result that shifted your perception or opened the most betting opportunity for you?
So I'm going to answer that more the latter here. I guess it's a little bit of both. The Warriors is the answer for me. And the Warriors lost game 1. But guys, I'm back. Let's bet the Warriors. And I'm not betting them to win the series. I actually still feel a little tenuous about that. They're down 0-1 and the Kings look like they're ready for the fight. I think if you want to bet the Warriors because they look like the Warriors, because I think that they do, then you have to listen to what we just said. And so, well, are the Lakers what we thought they could be? The Grizzlies might not have John Morant. The Suns are down a game. That opens the path that maybe they like. Suddenly, the Warriors' path is looking pretty tasty to me. I really just was prepared after 82 games of regular season to just be like, guys, what are we doing? The Warriors, they've told us who they are all year long. They've told us how mid they are. And maybe you're listening at home, you're like, yeah, and they did in game 1. They looked great, and then they didn't, and then they blew the game, and that's what the Warriors are. That's who they've been all season. Man, I feel like I saw flashes. I saw flashes of the title team. Andrew Wiggins, I don't know how we got here. I don't know how this is me in 2023. Seeing my guy Wiggins back out there, like that changed everything for this team. He is so important to what they do. And I know he missed a wide open 3, which the Warriors will tell you they'll take every single time. That was absolutely the right decision. It's a great shot. He missed it. Wiggins looked great. Wiggins was scoring great in the first half. All those cuts, all those easy looks. He rebounds well. He is defensively, he really adds to what they can do. And there were some problems in that game. But I think when Fox had Wiggins on him, they looked a lot better. I hope Wiggins gets into the starting lineup soon and they kind of rebalance the rotations and the lineups that way. I think that they just need, even if the minutes aren't quite there, just to rebalance out how the rotations go and everything. But I just think Wiggins back. Gary Payton looked really good and looked very important for them, and that was a big addition. I was very down on this team coming into the year and all year because of the lack of defensive pieces. Wiggins and Payton move the needle a lot for me there. I think if you're playing them, you got to think big. I don't think you play the series because I think the series price is actually going to not be great right now because they're down 0-1 and the Kings are good. But I think if you think the Warriors look like the Warriors again, I think you play them to win the West or maybe the title, whichever one you think.
Okay, I have a lot of things that shifted my perception, but I'm actually going to address my open the most betting opportunity because it's the exact opposite of what Brandon just said. Brandon, I am on the exact opposite here. I think that there is I am willing to go ahead. It's a pencil because I have a lot of faith in Steph. It's a soft cross out. Here's why. And this wasn't just me thinking it. It's one of the things I thought, but then I also heard it reaffirmed on the Light Years pod with Andy Liu and Sam Esfandiari. They talked about how one of the reasons that LeBron plays heavy minutes is so that he can end series quickly. The Warriors have tried to manage minutes because you don't want guys getting in too much of a load. They can't do that. This is going to be the most taxing playoff run the Warriors have ever had because their depth has never been worse. Their margin for error has never been smaller. Steph's going to have to play 40 plus most of the games in order for them to get through. And with them losing game one, this is already not like, I don't expect them to reverse sweep the Kings. Kings will get one more somewhere along the way. So this is probably going 6 at least. Then you're into the next round. And then you're into the they have such a bad bench compared to how they've been historically. They can't do Steph's going to play 30 minutes and they're going to be plus 30 in those minutes. They can't do it anymore. They don't have the depth. The team isn't that good. So I agree with you that they looked like the Warriors because they're always going to look like themselves. But the problem is that only happens when Steph's on the floor. So Steph has to play more minutes. And if Steph's playing more minutes, Draymond's going to play more minutes. And if Draymond's playing more minutes, you got to balance that with shooting. So Klay's got to play more minutes. Jordan Poole got annihilated in the minutes that he was on the floor. This is really concerning. They're going to have to play so many minutes, Brandon. I don't know that they're going to have anything left. And that's why I don't think that they're a futures play. AC, what do you think?
Matt, you know how I feel about the Warriors. It hasn't changed all season long. Not only am I very, very bearish on their long-term outlook, but they have to win road games. And each series that they're going to play, let's say they advance in this series, they're not going to have home court in the next one. They're not going to have home court in the next one. They're definitely not going to have home court in the finals. So, or hypothetical finals. I've been on the Kings in this series, pre-series. I like them game one. I think everyone's going to expect the Warriors to tie this 1-1. I wouldn't be so sure.
Brandon, I'll give you the last word on this.
Yeah, I would say, first of all, they might have home court in the next round because we all think the Lakers are going to win, and that would give the Warriors home court in the next round. So that part of my cap is I actually feel much better about a second round matchup for them. And so then that makes me not so worried about the mileage and the attrition because of what we saw in Lakers Grizzlies, that I feel better about the matchup for the Warriors than I would have. I think too, look, we didn't see those huge minutes in game one, and the Warriors almost won anyway, despite that the Kings had almost everything go right. They had a huge game from Fox and from Monk. They had a ton of offensive rebounds. They made a ton of shots down the stretch. They lived at the line, and the Warriors still had a shot to win in the last minute on the road, by the way. And I know they didn't get it, but it's not like there was some outlier minutes, whatever thing. The Warriors just did their thing.
I mean, Steph played 38 and he needed to play more. Yes.
I mean, yeah, well, because Steph had the terrible plus minus, and while he was off, that's the easy takeaway. He's plus 11, they lose by 3. It's easy to say, okay, we'll play 42, then the Warriors win. But if I look at the rotation, here's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the rotation last year to this year. This is where I'm at. So correct me where I'm off here. Obviously, Steph, Draymond, the guys are all older. We can't do anything about that. So just that alone. Klay is better this year, very clearly better this year than he was last year. He's back. He got a lot better down the stretch. So that's a big plus. Wiggins is back and rested. I'm assuming that's good for them. Wiggins can play 45 minutes a night. He can play all the minutes that he wants, and he's going to have to. If he's not in game shape yet, then I'm bad on this. I'm assuming lots of Wiggins. Gary Payton II. He did not play part of the playoffs last year, and it took them a while to figure out how to use him in the playoffs last year. So having him ready now, that's an improvement. Kuminga is much better this year. Kuminga was unplayable last year, and I think in this series is actually going to be an important role for them. So the change from last year then is no Otto Porter, who I was very high on, I thought was excellent, and we got Dante instead. Otherwise, this is last year's team that won the title somewhat easily at the end of the day. Dante instead of Otto. Where's the rotation fall off?
Last thing I want to say is the biggest difference isn't the Warriors from last year. The teams are better than this year compared to last year's. So the competition is, in my opinion, way better. Remember, there were a lot of injuries last year. Yeah. Warriors had a really, really nice path to get to the finals. And I can argue game one wasn't even a good game for the Kings, to be honest. So
who did they get second round last year? It was Nuggets, and then somebody, and then Mavs in the conference finals. I forget who the Warriors played in round
Memphis.
two. Memphis. That's right. Yeah. without Ja. Yeah. Will be interesting to see. AC, before I get you out of here, I got a question for you, and then we'll hit with Brandon after you bounce. I had priors going in on Cleveland. Hey, they're going to be able to rebound with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, and Isaac Okoro is going to play because he's really good. And he was +6, and then JB Bickerstaff threw him in the bushes for no apparent reason because he missed some shots. And then like I had priors on, Golden State in terms of like their defense showing up, did not look good in game 1. I had most of the other priors I think worked out fairly well in terms of like what I expected here. But my question for you is, you have these ideas for a series, you like lay it all out, and obviously like a series is 7 games or 6 or however many you think it's going to go. When a game 1 or an individual game, how much should that impact you as far as like how you bet? Does that like, should you be adaptable and look to profit off of where you may have been wrong and go the other way? Or should you be like, that balances out and maybe shows that you don't have a feel for the series and you should maybe avoid those games? How do you balance that?
No, that's a great question. I think it varies in impact. I think when it comes to game 1s, if the home team loses, I think that's a really big tell. So your example of the Knicks and Cavs, I think the Knicks right now are they have the advantage, right? Because they have home court. It flipped. The thing with the Knicks, though, we know they're not a really good home team at Madison Square Garden. So that kind of negates itself. But to answer your question, I think it varies in impact. From a betting perspective, me personally, I still view games like 1 by 1, mutually exclusive. So I know we talked about big trends earlier and all the way back to 2003. I think that's important to get a story or a picture of what it may look like. But it's more important to look at the actual games, how many of those open shots were missed, how many of them were contested, things like that. So that's why I still like game 2 Kings. That's why I like Cavs game 2, because they just missed a bunch of open shots.
Okay, we bid farewell to Albert, who's got other engagements, and Brandon and I are going to wrap this up. Brandon, I want to get your thoughts on that, about when you're off on a series, at least from a 1 game, right? And you are better at this than I am, and also way more confident. Like, you tend to be like, nope, that was the right play. I'm on it 100 times out of 100. But when you do find yourself like, wow, I really thought that this was going to happen and it didn't, how does that impact you betting throughout the series?
Yeah, I think a couple of ways. One, you and I are very different in like, you really like to build positions and say, okay, I've got this spot. Let me add here. Let me kind of focus in as we move toward whether that's an award or I think even on a series, kind of honing in on, let me make sure I've got the bullseye spot here. I think that way a little bit, but for the most part, I tend to really, if I'm making a new bet, I just want my new bet to be the right bet right now. I'm not necessarily saying, well, I do have this stock already. How do I add this? And how do I like diversify or balance the portfolio? I'm going to try to play this side or this game right now. And I'm going to bet on the Cavs now to try to balance out my Knicks Cavs series. I've tried that and it just doesn't go well for me. I feel like I'm just chasing too much to try, and you're very good at it. You get the position cornered. I can't get there, and I would rather just say, okay, like if I feel like, oh man, I was way off on that one. If I, certainly like Warriors Kings, I had Warriors to win game 1, and that was a big part of how I capped the series. That didn't happen. The Warriors lost game 1. If that happens, then my instinct, what I want to do is chase and go like, okay, how do I fix it? How do I fix this bet now? How do I get the money back? And chasing and getting your money back is a really good way to lose more money as a bettor. So I try to not do that. Beyond that, I think if anything, if there's a read where I feel pretty good about it and I feel confident and the shots just didn't fall or the coin flip just didn't go my way, then I just go back to the well and bet it again. Usually. I will say this though, we did on our other episode for Tuesday night, the Hawks Celtics game. I had a couple of Hawks props in game 1. There's really nothing about them that went horribly wrong. Okongwu had 5 offensive rebounds, just like I thought that he would. He just couldn't score to save his life. Sadiq Bey couldn't score. And the Hawks were so bad and so terrible, even though I said they would be, that I was like, what was I betting on 2 different Hawks to score 10 points, basically.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. So I think for me, it's either be confident enough that the bet was pretty good and you just got to go back to it again and count on volume and not be myopic. Or if I'm scared off, then I probably just scare off enough to sit out and say, okay, no props. Like no props for me on this side. No Hawks. I'm just done. And there's more games. There's a lot more playoff games to come. And if the Hawks look fine, then I'll be back in game 3.
Yeah, and like I appreciate you saying like I do a good job of it, but like I also say this, what you're talking about with chasing is like really important, because like Cavs Knicks I think is a good example of this, where I could wind up being right. Like the Cavs could definitely reverse sweep. Like I took Cavs -1.5, Cavs -2.5 on the series price. Took Cavs game 1, right? Like had the number. That's why I played that game. And then Knicks win game 1. And like, was there wonky stuff when I get under the hood of that game and go like I felt better after rewatching it and doing the dive. We'll get to that in a second, but like for the most part, I'm like, I don't know that I'm as dead as I thought I was on Saturday night. I might be still alive here. That might have just been like an outlier, nice game by the Knicks. At the other end of it, though, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to do either of the options. I'm not going to be like, ooh, I can get a better price on Cavs. I'm going back in. And I'm not like, well, I was really wrong on that. I'm going to bet the Knicks now to try and balance it out to where I don't lose money. You're going to lose money sometimes. Like, this is gambling. You're just going to lose. Cut your losses, move on. Like, that's where I'm at with Cavs Knicks, is I'm just like, I didn't have the feel for the series that I thought I did. Don't make it worse. If by game 3, I feel like I've figured out something, I'll play that. But like a great example of this is I was on Isaac Okoro overs because I was like, he is going to be a really important player in the series. They're going to be better with him on the floor. And I was right. They were +6 with Isaac Okoro on the floor. But you know what? Bickerstaff didn't play him. So it doesn't really matter if the coaching staff is like, we're better off with Chetty Osman. Okay, great. Like, keep rolling out Karis LeVert and Chetty Osman. Let's go, JB. I need a short answer on this one because I want to get to the series dives. What game should we react the most to as bettors?
I think the Suns. The Suns losing game 1, I think genuinely opens up the possibility that they just might not even get out of this round. Like, I'm not saying that I'm picking the Clippers, but I think that is a thing that we didn't really give much credence to. Not me and you, just we, the world, did not really give the Clippers much chance because PG was out and that was that. I just really am underwhelmed by the Suns. We finally saw Kevin Durant's Suns play an actual team, and Kevin Durant's undefeated Suns against not real teams are now defeated Suns against real teams. They are 0-1. They've never won a game against a real team. I'm worried about the rotation. Matt, all the things you said about the Warriors and the attrition and the minutes, that's the Suns to me. If Durant and Booker and like CP, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's a CP still happening in there. And DeAndre Ayton, I am never been in on. And that's it. That's the whole team. There's no other guys after that. Booker and Durant can be all the awesome they want, but they can only play even if they play all 48, there's still 3 other dudes on the court. I'm worried about the Suns. Again, I had no opinion really coming into the series. I didn't bet this any direction. I've yet to buy into the Suns. Part of why I made the case on the Warriors and everything, it's all because I think still the Suns are getting too much credit. I kind of wish that they had actually won because the odds would have left more ripe for the picking in the other Western teams. I would have bought some Nuggets and some Warriors and taken advantage of it, but I'm worried about Phoenix.
The if not Suns, then who is probably the biggest opportunity based off of game 1s. And like I'll say, like, I'm not out on Phoenix yet. We'll see. Clippers are going to have, like, there are adjustments and there are going to be things that go haywire. In a week, we could be like, remember when we thought the Suns were in trouble? Like, that's entirely possible. I will say, like, it's interesting to be, because I think everyone's very tempted to go like, ooh, Warriors, ooh, Lakers, look at these prices. And then on the other hand, you have the Denver Nuggets who just like walked into game 1 and looked like a 1 seed and were the only Western Conference team to be like, yeah, no, we're serious. Like we're a serious team. Like we're actually way better than our opponent. We're just going to smash them. So,
yeah.
But again,
let me just ask you a quick matchup question, because you're better at this stuff than me. I haven't thought ahead that much. If I'm right that the Suns aren't making the deep run, and I don't even know that I'm saying that, but if that's a possibility, if I liked what I saw from Denver if I'm a Denver fan, if I'm Denver basketball, do I want Phoenix or the Clippers next round? What's the matchup I prefer?
You want Clippers. They've dominated them. They've destroyed them.
Yeah.
Booker, CP3, and KD will make life difficult for Jokic. People will go back to that 2021 series, which you should not. That was no Jamal Murray, a much worse bench, and Jokic was exhausted from having to carry the team down the stretch after like a huge high usage season. Very different dynamics now, and he's figured out Aiden. Like Aiden, this is what always happens with Jokic: is a guy gives him trouble for about a year, and then Jokic goes, "Oh, okay, I got it." And then you're dead. And ask Rudy Gobert how that goes. Like you're just like, oh, you're one of the best defensive players, and you can't do anything. Like you're inept. Everyone turned like he makes everyone else turn into what everyone thinks he is as a defender. Like that's what Jokic does. So I think that the Nuggets are in a really good spot right now. I think that they feel confident in the Phoenix matchup, and they have destroyed the Clippers. But between the two, you definitely want the Clippers because Ivica Zubac, Mason Plumlee is definitely not it versus Jokic.
So let's say the Suns lose in 6 this round. Whatever reason the Suns go out. Are the Nuggets the team that benefits the most? Who benefits most from the Suns losing this round, other than obviously the Clippers? Is it the Nuggets? Is it the Warriors or Lakers?
It might be the Lakers.
Who's like, thank God the Suns are gone?
It might be the Lakers. Might be the Lakers. I mean, I think Denver gets a way easier path, but Denver still, like, if Denver gets LA, it's still going to be the Lakers. Yeah. There's a lot of history there. What game should we react the least to? What's like the game that you're just like, don't overreact to this one?
Yeah, this was for me the easiest question on the list. Milwaukee. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care at all. Miami, no, I'm not phased. In fact, I'm actually annoyed because the books are saying the same thing. And I was like, all right, let's go. Give me some Milwaukee futures. Let me get in. And first of all, it looks right now as we're taping Monday at noon, it looks like Giannis is probably going to play game 3 or game 2, which is not shocking. The dude, I mean, we were on this podcast a couple of years ago and we reacted like, oh no, he looked like he blew his knee out. He's done for the playoffs. I hope it's not long in the next season. And then he just played the next game and then they won the title. And, he dropped 50 in the clincher. So the guy, we've talked for years about LeBron being a cyborg and he just plays through everything. Giannis, if he just comes back out and just does the Giannis stuff, he'll be fine. Miami's not good, and the Bucks are going to win. I honestly, I'm kind of hoping Giannis sits game 2 because I will really like Milwaukee in that game without Giannis at a reduced price if that happens. I honestly think the biggest takeaway from watching that Bucks game, Chris Middleton looked great. Chris Middleton looked much better than I've seen most of the season. I thought he was really good. I think the Bucks are fine. The defense will be good. I don't want any Miami futures. I don't want any Cavs or Knicks. The Bucks are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, assuming Giannis doesn't have some major thing wrong. They are a team that can win without him. They did it all year long. I don't care. They'll be fine.
I think they'll be fine, but I think the series is going long. And I think that's an indication of Milwaukee's relative strength, which is what all the advanced figures told us. Like, I just got to I'm going to have to keep reaffirming this. The Boston Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. Like,
agreed.
This is
I think the same thing, but yeah. The advanced numbers all think the Heat suck too.
That's true. That's absolutely true. But I think the gap between them is what's relevant here. I wasn't surprised to see Miami. Like, one thing I think I picked up on, I bet them live as a dog when they had the lead. That was the angle I played on Miami when I was like, the books are still giving them.
I saw that, yeah.
And so I think that's the thing. I don't know that Milwaukee's built to come from behind in the playoffs. And if Miami's ahead, Miami's hitting shots. So if any of these games, if Miami has a second quarter lead, I think I'm going to fire on Miami live. That's going to be like an angle I'm going to look at. Let's do series leans. We'll hit these quick. Anything bettable right now. Let's start with Lakers Grizzlies, as the Lakers get the win in game 1 behind an incredible performance from Anthony Davis, despite his very serious stinger injury, which caused him to leave and then come back. Rui Hachimura, absolutely awesome. Brandon, I was kicking myself, man. Like, I've singled out Vando without. I was like, oh, Vando's the guy, and it was Rui. And I just honestly, he had fallen out of the rotation. It's not that I forgot Rui Hachimura existed. But if I had thought one more level on the prop play, because it was like Brandon Clark, Steven Adams are out. Ooh, they can't go small. The Lakers can get offensive rebounds. That'll be Vando. And instead, what I should have done was Rui points and rebounds over. And I felt so dumb. And now all the value's gone. I felt like such a blown opportunity in that game. I was kicking myself for that one. Lakers Grizzlies. What do you think is bettable now?
Yeah, I'm not sure that was necessary. I mean, obviously it was a blown opportunity. If Rui would have hit all the overs you could have bet, I would be careful about betting any of these Lakers guys. Like any outside of what I'm just going to go ahead and call the big three. Let's go past the big two. Austin Reeves is him. He's in. We got a big three now. I'd bet Austin Reeves with confidence. He's going to play. Hachimura could play like 16 minutes in game 2 and I wouldn't be phased at all. I think that they're just going to play whoever's hitting shots or whoever's working. Vando might play less now because if Ja is out, he was the primary defender early on and they don't need that anymore. Maybe they don't need him out there. Maybe they go more offense. Maybe D'Lo plays more now because he can't get cooked by Ja and maybe he's going to be, I don't know. Like, I don't trust the rotation guys. I mentioned 2 angles for Lakers earlier. Grizzlies are slight favorites right now in game 2. The line that's up, I believe, is -1.5 Memphis at home. To me, that implies Ja's out. Are we assuming Ja's out for game 2?
Yes, the way he made it sound, I would be very surprised if Ja plays in game 2.
So we are really short on bodies for the Grizzlies at this point. And I think if Ja is out for game 2, we're in big trouble. Let's just review. Here's what the rotation looks like for Memphis. No Ja. The starting lineup has Xavier Tillman and Tyus Jones in the starting lineup with Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, who I would not like in my starting lineup, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who was awesome in game 1, but still not Anthony Davis. That's the lineup. Tyus, Bane, Dylan, JJ, and Xavier. That's not a playoff lineup. No. Here's the bench. Luke Kennard, Santiel Adama, David Roddy, John Conchar, my guy, Zaire Williams.
Luke Kennard.
I mean, I said it, but like we are short on bodies. I probably will have to be I might try to do some get really creative and play some Dylan Brooks over points, over threes, but Grizzlies to lose. Because usually if you go overs on guys on one team, then the book thinks that means the team's going to win. And so I might kind of do a reverse correlation here because we saw last year when Ja was out in the playoffs, Dylan was like, my turn. And if Dylan's like, my turn, I'm like, bet the Lakers as much as I can right now because, oh boy, do I not think Dylan Brooks should be shooting and doing stuff. Lakers to win game 2 and the series plus 150. That's basically a money line bet to me. Barring a Lakers or barring a LeBron or Davis injury, if the Lakers go up 2-0 on the road and Ja might not even be playing, they're not losing 4 to the next 5. That's done. And so I think that's an interesting play if you like the Lakers here, which I do. And then Lakers sweep as a nibble. Again, if you go up 2-0, if you win these games, and if Ja looks like he might not be back, you talked about the morale thing. I don't know, man. The Grizzlies fight hard, but are they going to LA and keeping the season alive for what? I don't really know what the point is at that point. That's a plus 450 on the sweep.
I want to wait. I think over 5.5 games might have some value. Over 6.5 might have a little bit. I'll just say, like, game 1 was weird. It was 2 defensive teams that put up huge numbers on offensively. It was an outlier performance from the Lakers offensively. It was an outlier performance from the Grizzlies defensively and on the bad end. I do kind of think, like, I think the Lakers are going to win the series. I think so. This is where it gets tough when we're doing podcast content because it's like, well, what do you think the best bet is? And I'm like, the bet that I had before the series, which was Lakers to win it. Like, that's the best value on the series right now. But if you're looking to get in on it now, I do think probably taking like Lakers -2.5 probably have some value because of the variance here of Ja. I will just say, like, they play really well without Ja, but the problem is just like they play really well without Ja when they have Brandon Clark or Steven Adams.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really bad. I think Desmond will play well. Luke Kennard over is probably one I'm going to play. I think David Roddy can play. I think David actually looked pretty good in that game. Roddy's been surprisingly good this year. Not on Zaire Williams at all.
I got to say, too, I didn't say this when asked about the Lakers earlier when AC was on. I'm sorry. LeBron just doesn't look like LeBron right now. And I'm not going to put dirt on the grave and LeBron. Like, he's not bad. He's certainly not bad. But there are some leaky turnovers and some rough decisions and a lot of possessions where I mean, we're running Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis pick and rolls to end the game while LeBron's like spotting up over on the perimeter with the game on the line. Like, that version of LeBron, if that's where we're at in the career, we're not going to the finals with that version of LeBron. I say that to say I might put David Roddy on LeBron and just be like I might be like, you know what? LeBron beat me. I can't believe that's a sentence that I would consider in basketball ever. But I might be like, yeah, sorry, we're going to take Davis and Reeves away where we can and be like, LeBron, see if you can put up one of your 45s on us. I don't know that that's there right now. And if it is, hat tip, it's LeBron, so it goes. But my thinking on maybe Lakers value here, it's actually not anything to do with game one. If Ja is out, the Grizzlies are cooked, and it's a completely new read on the series. And if he's out even a game or two, I think it changes everything. So I didn't see anything in game one that was like, oh man, Lakers sweep, this is done. Not at all. This is not a game one read. This is a Ja Morant might be out and we're starting over, and it could get ugly.
Warriors Kings, by the way, I'm very excited for the possibility of you watching a LeBron versus these Warriors and how that the mental anguish that would put on you. Warriors Kings, I'm not like, I still think the Warriors win this series. I had Warriors like it's gonna go short. That's dead. I'm off that. Like, they need to win that game, and they didn't. They blew it. I don't know what that last shot from Steph was, by the way. Push shot. What are you doing? I still think the Warriors win the series. If they go down 0-2, I will probably have to bet Warriors. I think they win the home games. It's going to go long. We've talked about this in a number of ways already. But I don't necessarily think that there's value now. I want to wait till after game 2, and then I'll find a value that's going to be I'm going to be looking for Warriors plays only. It's Warriors or nothing. Love the Kings. Amazing win. That was a great game. Fox was sensational, but I am not phased enough to get off of Warriors for this series.
Yeah, I'm just not really playing the series still. This was a series I played Warriors to be up 2-1 before the series, and that was it. I had this gut feeling coming in that things were going to get weird, and we kind of saw that in game one. Like, I feel like we're getting a lot more game ones. I feel like we're going to get a lot of, oh man, he hit a shot, you hit a shot, back and forth. Like, here we are, 2 minutes left, and it's anyone's game. I think that, like you said, the margin for the Warriors is not as strong as it was. And the Kings are up 1-0, and the Kings are really good. So I like the Warriors. I just like the Warriors 20 minutes ago on this recording. If I want to play the Warriors, if I like them in the series, I think the move is to go further in and to say, okay, you have to like the Warriors then next round where things are starting to line up, maybe further. So I'll sit the series out. And if you do like them, like I do, just play like a West future instead. The Warriors, would you bet Warriors to win game 2 and the series? That's at plus 150. Same bet as we just talked about the Lakers. Is that an angle for you?
Yeah, Joe DeLauro trying to get me in on that. I think I'm content with my position right now, and I want to wait till game 2.
Okay.
Because I think it's possible now that because they lost game 1, I think it's possible they lose game 2. And I guess I would say this is, I like the value better of how the market will react if the Kings go up 2-0 than I do about the value now at plus 150. I'll get a better Warriors price with a little bit more margin for error here to come back if they lose game 2 than I will if they win it. I'm not going to, like, even if I'm right in the plus 150, I am not going to be necessarily phased that much by if they lose game 2. So it's not worth it to me. Suns Clippers, fantastic game, amazing game. This is one of my stronger plays, was Clippers plus 2.5. I said, like, look, this is a really bad matchup for Phoenix. It's a really good matchup for the Clippers, but they don't have Paul George. I still think that's probably going to play a part. A lot of weird things happened in this game, honestly, in terms of the Clippers. Like, I think the Clippers have a lot of ways that they can play better. I don't think this was like a top end performance from the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't think it was a necessarily awful game from the Suns. We talked about the lack of depth and all these types of things and the value there. We mentioned it briefly, but is there a specific play that you like on Suns Clippers for where you got to lean?
There is, and it's a lean. So you've been more on the Clippers than I haven't been in on this series yet. The Clippers are plus 160 to win the series right now. They're up 1-0. They ostensibly have home court. Would you consider the plus 160, or what percentage chance would you give the Clippers right now, up 1-0, to win the series?
I'd have to think about it. To win it is tough. It's just really tough. I think what I would do actually though is I would wait, because we both expect the Clippers. We expect the Suns to win game 2. Yes.
No,
Ooh,
not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm not playing that one. If I was going to play, I think I would just play the long money line. You give me a long money line on either one of these teams when you have Kawhi and KD playing as well as they are, I'm just going to take my chances.
I want to wait because I do think there's a chance to get the Clippers later at a better price.
Okay. So here's my angle for you. I got creative on this one. I have one more like this. I'll keep it short. If the Clippers win the series, I don't think that they're going to sweep the Suns or win in 5. I think that if the Clippers win, they win a long series. So rather than bet the plus 160 and get creative, do the thing we like to do, Clippers in 6 plus 550, Clippers in 7 plus 900. Play both of those. We're basically an implied 25%. So you're getting a plus 300 series line instead. I think that's a good ticket. I think the Clippers up 1-0 to get a plus 300 on the team up 1-0 with Kawhi Leonard looking like he did in that game. I think that's a good ticket. I'm still not going to go too crazy on it because I don't have a good feel for either of these teams. But I think if you like the Clippers and think it still has to go long to get there, it gives you a margin.
I don't hate a Clippers Western Conference ticket right now. So as much as the Nuggets dominate that matchup, they don't dominate enough for me to not like a Clippers. Like we said, the if not Suns, if not Suns, about the team that might beat them. So we'll see how it goes. We talked about Heat Bucks. Don't need to go over that one. Nuggets Wolves. My only real thing on the Nuggets is don't overreact to that game. Wolves have had a really rough week. They're shorthanded. That's not going to improve, but they had a really rough week. They had a outlier bad performance across the board. They were outclassed in totality. And they weren't, I can't be like, but they were still in the game. No, they got housed. Like the Nuggets definitively were way, 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 way better than them and played like it. And that's really encouraging for Denver. At the same time, weird things can happen. I wouldn't go sweep here. I wouldn't go Nuggets at 5. I wouldn't play those. I just think you need to wait. And if you really are just like, but I really loved how Denver looked, then bet Denver Western Conference because they're still underdogs compared to the Suns. You're still getting a longer price. They haven't moved. The market has not moved on like Denver went in and was the only Western Conference team that looked like its seed. And yet the market is just like, okay, cool. Because that's how little respect they have for the Wolves. There's nothing to play here right now in the series.
Yeah, I try to find an angle here because I actually sort of kind of thought that the matchup was decent for Minnesota coming in before game 1. It didn't look good, didn't look great. But Minnesota loves to force a lot of turnovers. Denver gets sloppy at times with the ball. Minnesota loves to score twos. Denver's 2-point defense is not very good. Minnesota is bad at free throws, but Denver doesn't get to the line a lot. There's all my 4 factors. I was like, Denver doesn't really look like they should be a 1 versus 8 favorite here, according to those things. Those matchups are still there. And I think Denver has to be overinflated after destroying Minnesota in game 1. So I was like, all right, there's got to be a little bit of value somewhere in Minnesota. But what is it? I certainly don't want to pick them to win the series. So let me float 2 bets at you and see if you like either of these. Nuggets to be up 2-1, minus 105. We're up 1-0. We either get up 2-0 and then kind of do the Denver thing. We're like, all right, we're good. We're fine. Minnesota gets the home game. Or Minnesota steals and Denver steals back. What do you think about Denver 2-1 lead?
Nope. I think it's entirely possible that Denver just outclasses them in 3 straight and it's 3-0. I don't think your numbers are not good enough to justify the minus 105.
Okay. So in which case you would also think that a sweep is very possible if we get there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you won't like this one either. Nuggets. Nuggets in 5 plus 205, Nuggets in 6 plus 450. That also basically comes out to a minus 104. If you do both of those, I like this one better. I think Minnesota gets a game. I think Minnesota is good enough, has matchup advantages, has talent there. And also Denver, we've seen other times kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit. I don't know that Denver is going to have that killer closer mentality. Maybe Minnesota, after the week they just had, is ready to close themselves out if we get there. But I think I was going to bet it. I would do that. It's not going 7. I don't think it's a sweep. So getting it in between.
I think it could go 7. I think it could be a sweep.
All right. So you hate that one.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like, Denver could absolutely just like randomly lose a game where there's like outliers, like Torian Prince hits 5 threes. They could lose 2 that way. Denver could also, like, the Wolves play absolutely phenomenal in game 4 to try and avoid the sweep, but Jokic decides, no, I want a week. I want a week off. No thanks. Hard pass. Like, Suns and Clippers is going long. No thanks. I just don't think that you can trust either of these teams, best or worst, the way that you can in the Eastern Conference. Cavs Knicks, I was off on this. You were right on this. Cavs minus 2.5 is dead. Like, this is going to be a long series. I still don't necessarily love the Knicks formula here. I think the Cavs have a lot of options, but I did realize that there's not a coaching advantage, which is inherently part of my cap for Tibbs matchups. If I don't have a coaching advantage, I can't bet this. I'm looking to just like sink in my losses on Cavs, Knicks, and moving on.
So it's weird because even though I was more right of the two of us on this series, I'm kind of also staying away. Like, I feel better, certainly, on the Knicks position. The Knicks plus 1.5, I feel good about it, but I don't feel great about it. I don't feel like, all right, I'm already counting my money on that one. Like, these are just not great teams. Neither one is a great team. They're flawed profiles. I also, my favorite bet still right now probably would be if I could get a decent line on the over 5.5, the long series. I don't even think that's a lock. I think it's entirely possible in like an ugly, close game that the Knicks win a game 2. I think it's in play. And if they do, now you're up 2-0 on road games and coming back to New York. And I think we could get like one of those. We tend to get one of those like 5 games, but they were close games sort of series. I could see this kind of trending that way. Heck, I could see this going Cleveland in 5 on a bunch of close games that Cleveland scrapes. I feel like we're at a variance series and we're going to have a lot of like, young guys. I don't know if the shots are going to fall. This to me is just a series where I'm not going to stake too much of my winnings on anything here.
I will probably, once the adjustments kick in, I will probably have an angle. I need to see another 2 games, I think, before we get there. We got a long way to go. Don't have to bet everything after game 1. Sixers Nets, I should have bet sweep before the series started. Like, I'm willing to overreact to game 1 because you got 30 from McHale and you had no shot. Like, that was a game that the Nets should have, like, that was a formula for the Nets to win outright, and they got housed because the Sixers have such a huge margin for error in the series. Joel didn't have a great game. Tyrese Maxey didn't have a great game. Thanks, Tyrese. I like the Anthony Melton over suddenly in the series because they're now staggering Melton instead of Maxey. Maxey's now the starter and then playing the starter rotation versus Melton, who's now the stagger guy. Plus 200 for the sweep is not bad. I'll probably sprinkle that, but like, I genuinely do not. If the Nets can't shoot like that and get even close, there is no point to the series.
Yeah, I don't want the sweep just because, hi, I'm Brandon. I don't like trusting Philadelphia to do good things. So I don't trust them to put their foot on Brooklyn's neck. They certainly could. They certainly should. I came away watching live in that first game. You know, it's the first game of the playoffs. So you're locked in. You're like, okay, I got my laptop. Yeah. I'm taking notes. And I'm like, what are we doing? I don't need to watch this. I came away initially thinking, all right, I even texted you and Raheem Palmer. I texted you guys, the Nets are going to win at least one of these. And you came away the opposite side. The Nets just look good. They were scoring really easily. They had 65% effective field goal, which is the highest in NBA history in a loss. I don't know if that's good or bad. It seems bad in hindsight, like what you're saying. Here's the numbers I came away worried about afterward. They hit their shots. And I thought, okay, well, Brooklyn at least has a 3-point advantage. No, they don't.
Nope.
Philadelphia took 14 more threes than Brooklyn. That's not going to cut it. Philadelphia had 9 more offensive rebounds. Philadelphia had 11 fewer turnovers. It's not going to work for me. Philadelphia had 19 more shots. If the team that's way, way, way better, that we all know is way, way, way better, also gets 19 more times to be better, it's going to go very badly for Brooklyn. So I still don't trust them because I don't trust Philadelphia ever. And they're going to be winning a title. They're going to be like cutting down the nets like it's March Madness. And I'm still going to be like, but what if Joel Embiid slips on the ladder? I don't know, guys. Like, that's what it's going to take for me to finally trust the team. So if you can just throw out the Brandon Trust issues, the numbers are really bad, and the sweep probably is the right way to go. Brooklyn can't win games when they're getting 20 fewer shots up, no matter how well they shoot. We just saw it, and they lost by 20.
This entire podcast I've preached, hey, don't overreact. Give it some time. Be patient. Things twist and turn. Sixers in 4, Celtics in 4, parlay at FanDuel Sportsbook plus 770.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I mean, look, I'm not going to make the whole case again for Celtics sweep. We're at Celtics, I think, here. I already made the case on the Monday podcast. Our preview for Boston game 2, my best bet is a Celtics sweep plus 190. Yeah. So I clearly like that. I think that one's a wrap. I pretty much just made the case for sweep, which you did also. So I think it's certainly in play. I think, too, a thing that's underrated about the sweep factor here, Boston and Philly destroyed people on Saturday. These guys, they watch games, right? These players are at home watching games on Sunday. They sat home and watched Giannis Antetokounmpo gets hurt. Ja Morant gets hurt. Tyler Hero breaks his hand. Like, we're getting injuries. Ja Morant possibly out for Paul George gonna be out for a while. There should be a little bit of a sense of urgency of like, hey, you know what? We got to play this other team who's also plowing a team through. Let's just get business done, get out of here, and not risk injury. I do think that extra little sense of urgency kicks in. I don't mind the double sweep play.
We're going to do it for buckets for Monday. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with best bets throughout the week. We got stuff for you 5 days a week. We'll have bets for you on both the individual games and for series. Make sure to check all that out. Follow Brandon on Twitter at WheatonBrando. You can also follow me on Twitter at HB Basketball. Our thanks to David Payne, our producer. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, get buckets.